Good evening to all of the members of the Roadside Parliament. I want to say how happy I am to be here with you on Hastings Rocks in Christchurch. This is a very special place for all of us. We sit on the coast of Barbados enjoying the ocean breeze. And this is one of the few areas that are left for the public of Barbados to come and enjoy the serene beauty of our country. So we must give thanks for a space like this. If we continue the way we are, spaces like this will become non-existent for all of us. And soon, very soon, you will see another hotel popping up here to compete with the one that is right there. So let us keep the fight going. I am very happy to see you all. I am very happy to be on the platform sharing with you. And this evening, I want to speak to you, Barbados and Barbadians, because I want to plead with you, my people, Barbadians here and across the globe and diaspora, and ask you a question. Are you willing to learn from your past mistakes? Are you willing to learn from the errors that we made as a people? Are we willing to correct the mistake we made in 2018 May when we voted 30 love? Are we willing to correct the next mistake when we voted 30 love again in 2022? And I dare say a questionable 30 love in 2022, because for the first time in Barbados' history, Barbadians were banned and robbed of their right to vote in a general election in Barbados. I want you, Barbadians, to focus on those two mistakes that we made and ask yourselves that question. Are we willing to learn from our past mistakes? Or are we willing to make that mistake a third time? The journey of Barbados, 1966, independence. Many of you would remember the joy and the excitement associated with that time on the Garrison Savannah. And Barbados, since then and before, has been marked as a country of struggle. Our life of Barbadians was characterized by the struggle, and that struggle involves the family, that struggle involves friends, that struggle involves work, that struggle involves the church, that struggle involves the community, that struggle involves clubs, that struggle involves fraternity and otherwise, camaraderie. And we built the Barbadian society on the fact that we all struggled, with the exception of the few. Today, all of us are forced to deal with the issues and the struggles associated with making that same mistake twice. So I want to ask you, are you willing to make that same mistake a third time? The joys and the excitement of independence that it brought to this country, that many Barbadians today in 2024 can still stand proud and celebrate what independence means to them. Not only as an individual, but as a country. Independence means the world to Barbados, and it means the world to us as a people. However, one cool day in Barbados led to that joy and excitement being overtaken by pain, anxiety, confusion, and anger, when it was declared in the midst of the worst world's health pandemic that this country was going to a republic. And Barbadians were left out of the experience of a republic. The children of independence can never say that about Barrow and independence. Independence involved all of us. However, the republic involved a few. And Barbadians had to go through the most inhumane treatment to do social distancing and wear masks. Those who were invited because they had a list of who could have attended the Republican ceremony. And yet they not invite Caswell, a senator. So I am saying to you, my people, that the difference between then and now, you were there at the garrison, but who was there to celebrate republicanism? We were left out because republic was never about us Barbadians. That on October the 20th, 2021, a constitutional amendment act was passed in this country for Barbados to install its first president. That the Parliament of Barbados voted to install this president under a new republic, and in the midst of COVID, and you were robbed of that life experience. So the same way people continue to celebrate independence today, who will celebrate one of the most draconian and wicked exercises to take this country to a republic and rob us of that experience, and then going as far to disrespect not only the father of independence, but to disrespect the people of Barbados when they wanted to change November 30th from Independence Day to Republic Day. And if not for the people of Barbados standing up and using the free education that was given to this country and speaking out against it, after the leader of this country, along with her no work ministers, stood and said that they were never going to change it. They said that they were not going to change the anthem and some other issues that were going on surrounding independence of Barbados. But then they still went ahead and tried to change it. So we have to also deal with the struggle of lawyers in leadership. That was not the independence experience of Barbados. We had true statesmen who wanted what was best for Barbadians. They were nationalists. They were about what happens here. But that has changed. Our error. It has changed. So the average man and woman in Barbados being left out of this republic, being told that we now have a Barbadian head of state, what they did surrounding even that moment was to say that the president of Barbados will only have a 4-year term. You can count the years. She was installed in 2021. This is 2024. So you have 1 more year until the term of the president of Barbados, Sandra Mason, is up. And in the Constitutional Amendment Act, which speaks to the term that the president of this country will serve, it says that the Prime Minister, in association and consultation with the leader of opposition, shall extend the term of the president for another 4 years after they have consulted with the president and the president has agreed with that. They went on to say in the legislation that Parliament can increase the tenure of the president by 6 months if they believe that Parliament is likely to be dissolved. That includes if a general election is coming. And Parliament has that power. So I am telling you, by February 21st of 2025, Barbadians will be in the know as it relates to the future of the president of Barbados. And determining on if the president is allowed to continue in office or not, we will get a serious signal as to when general elections in Barbados will be held, and they are going to be held at latest January 2027 constitutionally. So pay attention to these things, people, all in the name of a forced republic that was never about Barbadians. This republic that we live in, one that involves the selling off of prime assets of Barbados, its land, the leasing of its airport for 30 years, and I'm sure when Richard Seeley comes on the platform, he will speak to that. We see people like Miss Ram, their properties being taken over by force. We see on the east coast of Barbados that people are saying that they own the rocks out in the sea. One of the biggest moments of celebration in Barbados is that there are no private beaches around here. And Barbados will never endorse the fact of private beaches in this country. These beaches belong to we. And we will remove any fence, any blockade or so within the law of anybody coming into Barbados, being sold land and being misguided by corrupt people, not just government, that they can own the rocks out in the sea. So Barbadians, I'm going to ask you, are you willing to make that same mistake again? Are you willing to learn from your past mistakes? Barbadians, the promise of a referendum was never given to you. The promise of consultation, not only on the Republic, but many other issues, national insurance, was it afforded to you? No. Consultation about going into IMF program, was it afforded to you? So are you willing to learn from your past mistakes, Barbadians? I want to say to you, Barbadians, proud children of independence, that under this new republic, the struggles that are being introduced to you are completely new and foreign. That they're saying to you that you will no longer be a proud Barbadian if you did not take a digital ID. Remember that? And they were saying that you were going to be stateless. That you would not be a Barbadian if you did not take this digital ID. And they were going ahead with a deadline to say that if you did not take the ID by XYZ date, you'll be cut off for social services, cut off for holding a driver's license. Basically, you would have been nothing in your own country, Barbados. That was not the experience of independence, but it is the experience of a new republic, a republic without a republican constitution, who goes to a republic first and then try to bring a constitution after. Make up the rules first and go along after. Not make up the rules along the way. But then again, that is mere mathematics. But she don't pretend to know about it. So I am saying to you, Barbadians, that during the time when all of the countries through the Caribbean, because independence was a wave through the whole Caribbean, we had something called constitutional conferences. I read all of them: Grenada, Dominica, Barbados. It was set up with the United Kingdom Secretary of State to allow for consultation as to what the constitution, what law, what governance will look like through the whole Caribbean. But you know what? Barbados wants to be, I want to be the first to do. But are we inspiring others to the Caribbean to follow the example of Barbados, like what our past leaders did? I will leave that question to you. So a republic by force, a police and military state intended to be spied on by a cybercrime bill. A republic that is indebted $759 million to the IMF. We were $0 indebted to the IMF in 2018 before our first error when we voted this law into early love. But since we have made that error twice, we now owe the IMF $759 million. That wasn't all we paid back some, but that is what we owe now. We signed 2 IMF programs in 5 years. 2 IMF programs. Do not forget the fact that you were not consulted. Do not forget that without a cabinet in place, a deal was signed with White Oaks to restructure the debt of this country. And we defaulted on the foreign debt of Barbados, the first time ever in the history of this country. We went to IMF program in the 1970s under former Prime Minister Tom Adams. We did not default on our debt. We went to IMF program under Sir Lloyd Sanford, former Prime Minister. We had 8% cut. We did not default on our debt. But this government and Prime Minister, who was so determined, has entered into IMF program after denying that they would. Defaulting on Barbados' debt. I say that they're going to borrow 1% loans from the IMF. But I tell you, Barbadians, you need to learn from your mistakes. Because the struggle introduced to this country is that we are now a republic, and I'm going to repeat it, without a declared Republican constitution. They have the committee and they're reviewing it and they're doing all of these things. They're making the rules as we go along, and we're heavily indebted to the IMF. Right? But I want to urge you and remind you that struggle is a natural part of life, and that struggle has been the backbone of Barbadian life. So fear not. And anyone who thinks that he or she can make it through life without struggle, then you're sadly mistaken. And we tend to try to avoid struggle, and we tend to try to deny it. But those who go through struggle are most likely to learn from it and become lifelong learners. And that the harsh lessons that need to be learned and that Barbadians need to learn may be coming through the fire that we are going through right now with this lot who pretends to care about people. So again, I'm going to ask you, are you willing to learn from your mistakes? Are you willing to correct the mistakes you made by voting this law in 30 love twice and having a serious imbalance of power in this country? We need to balance the scales out. So, my people, as I come down to the latter parts of my presentation, and I must say I'm enjoying myself. Many of you had hope, literal hope, that the Barbados economy would have been buoyant by now. That it would have gone in the direction that you would have been getting jobs both in the public sector, the private sector. You would have been getting salary increases. You know, you would have been getting proper job security, reduction in VAT, no more NSRL, no more road tax. And we thought that, you know, the whole project, we thought that, you know, Barbados would have been mightily prosperous. But we were sold a covenant of hope that turned into a covenant of hopelessness. That a manifesto with so many holes and promises to the people of Barbados. And still we have people running around this place in a red shirts talking about somebody cares when they told you on the floor of Parliament, I pretend to care about you. I pretended so much that I infiltrated the unions of Barbados. So much so that I took the General Secretary of the Barbados Workers Union, a sellout, and put in the Parliament of this country, forcing out poor Glenn Clark, sending Glenn Clark, an elderly senior man, to live in the cold in Canada in the middle of COVID, calling a by-election in the midst of a pandemic. Where is the General Secretary of the Barbados Workers Union today as it relates to representing the people of Barbados? She does not. In fact, the unions, with the exception of the Unity Workers Union, have been dormant and complacent in representing the issues of the people of this country. And as a reward for toppling a democratically elected government, and I dare say that they teamed up, the unions of this country teamed up to sabotage the last government, even having employers pay employees to march against it. The sellout General Secretary of the Barbados Workers Union is sitting in the Parliament in a seat in St. George North, and the second one that was the head of the NUPW that was ousted, he's canvassing St. Michael Central constituency, talking about he's becoming the next representative for the Barbados Labour Party. But we thought that those unions had the best interests of Barbados at heart. But they showed you they pretended to care. They really did not. Sat down in the Parliament and watched these representatives give themselves 3 pay raises. Created a post called Senior Minister and increased the Senior Minister's pay to that of Deputy Prime Minister. So we got 5 or 6 people doing and being paid for the role of Deputy Prime Minister. That is what they did to the people of Barbados. And wrapping up, people, I have 1 more minute, I believe. Right? We need to focus on our relationship as a country with the IMF and what it means for the future of Barbados and the debt that we are in and how we are going to pay back that debt. That if the leader of this country was a student of lifelong learning, they would have learned about our past experiences with the IMF, and they should have took heed before they signed certain arrangements in this country. That today, that $759 million that we owe in IMF, plus the $1 billion in interest payments that has to leave this country every year, is choking this country and will choke future generations that have to pay back this money to the IMF and other institutions after we've been deceived. And now the Prime Minister is in a newspaper trying to chastise the IMF, speaking about surcharge fees and speaking about global interest rates and the increase in interest rates. If the leader of this country had been a student of lifelong learning, you would have known and you should have told the people of Barbados up front, and should have also waited and had consultation with the economists of Barbados, the political scientists, and the average citizens of this country who experience past IMF programs, and other people out there who have the knowledge that could have told you and Oinafa warned us and warned you not to put Barbados into a borrowing relationship with the International Monetary Fund. You went ahead and did it anyway because you're a despot. And I am here to say to you tonight that we at the Roadside Parliament will continue to stand up against all levels of despotism, terrorism, and we will not be muzzled in Barbados. Cybercrime bill or no cybercrime bill. Thank you very much. Great to be here. Have a great evening.